CSU, the lawyers of BAT cried and pleaded before the justices at the level of the court in the USA. Shaibu says, this Phrank Shaibu, he just deal with this Tinubu and his group like another thing. So their lawyers, Tinubu lawyers, cried and pleaded before the justices at the level of the court in the USA. What for what? I know, because they didn't want all this certificate issue to be published because it will do a very great damage to them. And I'm sure this is a very serious one that they're facing. They're not finding it easy at all. So let's dive straight and see what Phrank Shaibu is saying. The Special Assistant on Public Communication and Strategy to Atiku Abubakar, Mr. Phrank Shaibu, said in an interview with News Central Television that the lawyers of Bola Ahmed Tinubu cried and pleaded before the justices at the level of the court in America. He added that the judge in charge said she got thousands of emails from interested Nigerians, and that is why she ordered the release of Tinubu's document. He further stated that the PDP can boldly and confidently call the documents that President Bola Tinubu submitted to INEC forged documents based on the fact that they have been tested by a court of competent jurisdiction over there in the USA. Okay, so according to him, this same man, Bola Tinubu, fought tooth and nail to prevent the release of this document. As a matter of fact, his lawyers cried, pleaded before the justices at the level of the court in America, and said that it would cause irreparable damage if Bola Tinubu's documents were released to Atiku Abubakar. The court held that whatever irreparable damage it will cause, it is not more than the interest of 200 million Nigerians. So the judge said in her ruling that she has received a preponderance of mails from interested Nigerians, and because of that interest, she will give judgment based on the law and emotions, which is why those documents were released. Oh boy. So what is happening here is that Tinubu's lawyers cried bitterly, cried seriously to the judge in the US. Okay, that is Judge Nancy Madonaldo. And we are aware during the beginning of this case, after it was appealed, that the people were writing Justice Madonaldo, okay, to make sure that she released those documents because Nigerians are interested. Meanwhile, Tinubu's lawyers went to cry to her to say she should, object to the judgment of Jeffrey Gilbert, which instructed the CSU to release Tinubu's document or credentials to Atiku Abubakar for presentation at the Supreme Court here. But the Justice Madonaldo, the lady at the upper part, said, well, no matter how they cry, their cry cannot be more important or more emotional than the interest of the rest 200 million Nigerians, and that she will pass her judgment based on the interest of Nigerians, and that was why she released the document. And obviously, since that document has been released, we've seen that Tinubu came back and has not been talking. All his attack dogs have not been talking. It's only very few of them who are just people where we don't know how to classify them that have been talking. Okay, all the key people, in fact, it's only what is his name, Reno Mokri, who is even in PDP, that has been talking for the APC. Of all the APC, FFK is not talking. Dejade Anju, who is also a PDP person, is not talking. And the only person that tried to talk a bit is Festus Keyamo. Every other person is quiet. And what they're trying to do now is to use the instrument of government to muzzle the media, to shut them down. And that is why we saw something like NBC, the National Broadcasting Commission, sending a warning letter, calling the last warning to Arise TV for not moderating the behavior of their, invitees that came to speak at the station. all of that, and that was what led to PDP and Atiku coming out to say that Tinubu and his APC government, they have perfected plan to gag the media so that they will not talk, and that is ahead of FBI releasing more dossier about Tinubu. Tinubu's case is very, very pitiable. That is the truth. So he made a mistake. When you know that your records are not straight from birth to where you are now, the best thing is avoid public office, because public office will definitely probe into your privacy, whether you like it or not. It is not an option. They must probe into your privacy. They want to know who they employ. They want to know who is representing them. They want to know who is leading them. They want to know if you are the most credible to lead them. So, but unfortunately, Tinubu, because of his Emilocon syndrome, refused to go and sit down in one place and pay attention to his life. It's an unfortunate situation he's facing, but he has to face it. That is the truth. The situation we're in here is that Tinubu is in for a very long haul, because one, all the certificates from secondary school to university are not authentic and cannot be authenticated by anyone. That's what primary school is even missing at all, and nobody is talking about that. And you cannot say, look at Gowon that just passed on yesterday, that was one-time military head of state of Nigeria, had his credentials. Ojukwu had his credentials. Obasanjo had their credentials. Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, all of them have their credentials. It's only Tinubu that has credential issue. And with some of the APC governors and ministers, I know that if we probe into so many of them, a lot of those people with one investigative, one criminal issue or the other have already found their way into this cabinet. And that is why this is about going to be the worst cabinet ever in the history of Nigerian government. And it's a very bad one. Okay, and as if that is not enough, by the end of this October, the FBI will be ready to start releasing the 2,500-page document of Tinubu that they have in stock, and that has to show, and that is the investigation report about Tinubu's life in the U.S., both the good, the bad, the ugly, with all that he has done. And I'm sure all this certificate forgery, and I'm sure all those other people, somebody like Benjamin Miller that has legal case, collected the client's money as a lawyer and came back to Nigeria, or those the governor of Ogun State, Biodun, that had all those is it credit card or some other financial fraud case in the US, and a lot of them, even the governor of Lagos State, you'll be surprised that all of them have dossiers in the US that will be connected to Tinubu. And by that they release all those documents, they will release all those people that have worked for him there in the US, that have run back to Nigeria with him, that is also trying to position well in government now to take over the affairs of Nigeria. Is going to be a very bad one. And now, because of the huge size of that FBI document, they said they are going to be releasing 500 pages every month for the next 5 months. That is 2,500 pages. And some grapevine have said that the document is actually more than that. It's about 7,000 pages. It's just that they had to shrink it and compress it to arrive at 2,500 for easy for transmissibility, or to be able to transmit it across in a short time period. Okay, so that is exactly what is happening, and with this, that means that both Tinubu and his lawyers are already aware of the damage, the catastrophic damage that the release of all these documents will cause them. And that is why they cried, they went to beg that woman, Nancy Madonaldo in the US. But unfortunately, they couldn't prevail on her, because that is not Nigerian judiciary where they can prevail. We know that even in Nigerian judiciary at the Supreme Court, nothing good is going to come out, because they have pocketed all those people. But then, let them pocket Nigerian judiciary and the legislators, then the executive doing what they like, the public will also do it their own way to get justice from elsewhere. That is the way I see it. So this is what Phrank Shaibu is saying, how Tinubu's lawyers cried to Nancy Madonaldo in the US not to release the document, but they couldn't prevail on her. So thank you for listening, and let's have a comment.